gardeners. Today we are going to tour this beautiful tropical front yard. This is what I would consider an average front yard size, and so I thought this might be really great to take you guys along. If this is a look that you like, you can easily replicate it. This yard has like 3 distinct different islands to it, so I want to share with you each one and kind of the reason why we did that, just to kind of highlight certain sections of the yard. I think it's really going to appeal to a lot of you guys because there are so many homes that have a similar setup to this space. So the first area that we're going to look at is this front yard section right along the foundation of the house. So this is left side of the driveway, but I absolutely love the way this turned out. We planted everything a couple months ago. Things are now starting to fluff out and grow in. Not quite there yet, but definitely I wanted to bring you along early enough so you can see things as they're starting to connect, but you really kind of get to see the individual spaces really, really well. The main trees, the focal trees that are within this garden are the Sylvester palm. That was an existing Sylvester that we worked with in the space. There was an existing Christmas palm that was here, and then we added in a Kentiopsis palm for this corner over here. And then starting with the backdrop of the bed, you guys can see the Brazilian red cloaks. We have 3 15-gallon Brazilian red cloaks as the backdrop. They're just starting their blooming cycle. They're going to thicken up, fill out, and become an 8-foot wall right there, which is ideal because if you guys are seeing what we're seeing, what a direct viewpoint is to this space is the 2-story right behind you there. So having these guys at 8-9 foot tall as a kind of a thick, dense wall of beautiful pink foliage or beautiful pink blooms is going to be absolutely a stunner when you pull up to the driveway. So that is our anchor point right there. So while they're young, they're going to have a little bit of legginess to them. They will eventually fill out, but you'll notice that's why I love to put skirt plantings. Anytime I know that we're going to have a lapse of time with some legginess at the base, you want something to the front of them. That's going to give you the room to really kind of layer to the front. I've got a sea of Java Whites, and I've just got a kind of a staggered formation of those guys. Those are planted 2 foot to the center of each plant, so that way they fully connect. I just kind of wanted a nice bit of softness, a nice bit of fluffiness underneath this here. And then we brought in a much lower tier down below with the dwarf pentas. So these dwarf pentas are going to wrap around the Americana agave and really just kind of anchor this corner, give it a little bit of punch, a little bit of interest. And then right here, our next accent features are going to be something that I kind of wanted to have a little impact on the cleanness of that wall. So we've got a lady palm here, so they're going to collect and kind of be a nice 6-foot height right here. Now my clients are going to keep those. You guys, if you had rapis palms or lady palms in the past, you know what they'll naturally do is they'll naturally spread. They kind of clump at the base here, open up, and then they'll provide little pups at the bottom. If you want to keep those under control, the best thing to do is about every 3 to 4 months, just go in and remove any of those lower clumping. That way it's manageable to keep it at a nice clumping, more like a bouquet style versus getting wider and wider and wider. But that starts from the beginning. That starts from, you know, the first few months in. If you see any, kind of clip it, and that way it forces that tree to stay kind of compact and small. And that is definitely doable. It's definitely worth having because what an interesting leaf those guys offer. They're just so cool. Because we have so much green and light colorations on the sides. The center area is going to give you a real dark contrast against the blue of the house. I love the anti-lou collections right there. You guys know what I like to do with anti-lous is I'll connect them into one hole. So we'll have like 2 or 3 anti-lous in one hole, and that way they push against each other and become a nice thick grouping versus an individual plant like this. We kind of want to take, you know, 2 or 3, depending on the size of them, put them together, dig a much larger hole and plant them as one. And then they'll push against each other, again, giving you that bouquet kind of feel where they really widen out nice and chunky. So they're gonna do that and really fill in that gap back there. On either side, I love these burl marks. Oh my gosh, the shiny leaves of these little plants. Now these guys, you can easily keep them around 2, 3 foot tall. They're a nice slow grower. They really will kind of drift where you want them to go. And I just kind of love the way that they kind of give you a nice anchor point. An alternative to burl marks, if you guys want something that's a little bit more controlled, a little bit more compact, would be Xanadu. Dwarf Xanadu is an ideal little kind of ground space. Both of them require medium light to filtered light to full shade. So those are, if you get into the sun, they can really burn on those. But if that's your environment, then those are 2 great choices. And then to brighten it up again, because we had the Java Whites on the corner, So now we went to dark green and the dark green of the rhapis. Now to bring a little bit of brightness over to highlight these antilus, we've got Song of India at the bottom. You guys, these Song of India are easy to keep chunky. All you do is just take off that little nip, that little top. That way it forces the plant to go and connect together and not shoot straight up. This plant can be this size its whole life if you nip it. I think that's a misconception. A lot of people think they have to get real large, and they can, but they can easily be kept in a kind of a bushy style. So you can put 4 or 5 together in one bush and just clip those tops off so that way they knit and connect together, because they're looking for a supporting partner there. So, I mean, aren't we all? But that way they really become a nice full little cluster, and the brightness they give you in a darker space is ideal. Song of India are versatile. They can live in shade, they can live in filtered light, they can live in full sun. So, you know, when you have a plant like that, you kind of want to find good uses for it. So I use it to brighten up a dark spot. So we have the burl marks next to it, a bright spot here, and then really give you a nice dark hit with the antilus there, and then a nice kind of complementary color with the dwarf pentas. And when I use pentas, I kind of used to use them in dabs. I don't usually use big sweeps of them. I like a little clustering of 5 or 6 in a group. Then I break it with another non-blooming plant, so we always get color. These pentas will bloom all spring, all summer, and apparently in the fall. So they do bloom quite often. The thing with pentas that do get missed is that everybody thinks because they're blooming and they're gorgeous that you don't trim them, but you do absolutely trim these plants. And when you trim them, you give them a hard cut back. So you're going to want to take these guys. See, this size is perfect. This guy's kind of getting a little bit wild and a little bit crazy. So in the next month, I would say, I would come in and trim them back down to a little smaller than this size here. So I take all the tops of them off. And anytime you trim a plant, especially a blooming plant, you kind of want to go mushroom style. Leave a little bit of height in the middle and then round it off at the bottom. So that's exactly what you would do here. You would trim it a little tight on the sides, leave it a little bit taller in the middle. That way when it mounds out, it kind of mounds out to that type of look, and then you've got a gorgeous grouping. I want these to fully connect, so this is one solid swath. That way there's no mulch seen at all as they grow in. This is going to be the ground cover of the plants. And in general, if you notice in my designs, that's exactly what I like to do with all my plants, where mulch is kind of only seen along the edges or along the rear side of the bed. That way everything is kind of a sea of this, and then it breaks, and then a sea of this, and then it breaks. So that's kind of the goal there. And then you guys, we have a rinse and repeat pattern. We've got the burl marks here with the Song of India, and then we're hitting it again with the Java White copperleafs. So the Java White copperleafs, we have a sea of those, a cluster here with a break of the false agave and this cool coquina boulder. And then again, we've got a little touch of the Java Whites on the corner with a dark sea of this red copperleaf. That's the Louisiana red copperleaf. I get this question a lot. Instead of using the same type of plants over and over again, sometimes it's just best to use the same variations of color. So that's what you're going to see here. So back to the back here, I could have used Antilou like I have over there, but I needed something that has a dark contrasting color that simulates that type of look or color that the Antilou offers. So the copper leaves to the back do that. And then we've got a bright tone, because if you got dark, you want to bring in something bright. So we got the brightness of the Java Whites on the corner, and then of course the dark greens here. And then we've got bright variegation in the Song of India like we have in the Java Whites. Then we have the pink tones that complement the Antilou. So you kind of see how we go from light, dark, and then it just kind of a rinse and repeat. What a great companion for these pentas are the Brazilian red cloaks with their pink tones. So it's like almost every plant in here has a color partner, you know, so that way when you look at the whole bed, it doesn't feel like you have all the same plants in one bed, but you have the same plant colorations. Everything looks like it, real rhyme, real reason, and it really helps the bed come together, and it makes it look more interesting because they tie together because the colors or the leaf patterns pulled in together. Gosh, I hope that makes sense. Hey, you guys, I'm gonna pop in here really quick. If you're liking what you're seeing so far, then this is a project that we installed and designed. So if you're looking to have something like this done for yourself, please reach out to us. Our contact information is down below. We have a landscape design and an installation service available, as well as virtual consults where I can share and discuss with you different spaces throughout your garden. Most of that is done throughout the state of Florida. Reach out to Marissa, my daughter-in-law, who will give you all of our inside information and see if we would be a good fit for you. Also, our book is out and finished. It's on Amazon, was released last week. We are so proud of it. It lists a lot of the plants and trees that you see in all of our videos that we share, the tough Florida plants, tried and true, and some details and information about it. It's like your little secret weapon in the garden. It'll be in the first link in the description down below and also pinned comment. Thank you guys so much for your support. I truly hope you enjoy these videos. Let's get back into this one. All right, so those of you guys who are thinking about creating a front yard island, so maybe a little bit of buffering from your space in the roadway, then I think you're gonna like this section because it's exactly what we did here. We have a Lucie hedge as our backdrop. That's gonna be a nice 4 to 5 foot wall for my clients. That's gonna kind of give a little bit of barrier, a little bit of privacy, but it's also gonna make this front yard island pop with color. So when you have a green screen back there, it's going to take all the colors and make them just stand out so much more. Our main trees in this particular bed are going to be the double foxtail, the pygmy date palm, the Dayun palm, and then they had some existing oaks in this space. And the oaks are kind of the purpose or the reason why we decided to keep this bed here. They had oaks with some roots and it was kind of already established here. So I said, well, let's just work with it. Let's kind of work with that and create a whole island and kind of give those oaks some balance. So that's exactly what we did. So we added some more height to this side of it to kind of give this whole front island a purpose with the oak trees. So what we have here is our main centerpiece area is the Dayun palm. This bed was a little bit tricky with the oak trees kind of being off center of each other. They kind of threw off the bed shape. So we had to kind of create our own center, our own bit of weight here. So what we did is we chose the Dayun palm and then tiered it down to another accent with this Imperialis bromeliad and then tied in some boulders just to give us a different texture in the space. When you can't go symmetrical, you want to make sure that you just can balance it out with weight. So because we have 2 large trees on this side, I didn't want to do super large trees on this side, but I know we needed some additional weight. So the pygmy date palm with its chunky and fatness and what that's going to create over time is going to offer balance and weight there. Then we've got the double foxtail palm here. Then we've got the 2 upright accents here, and then of course the boulders tucked in, so that way it feels like it has a little bit more oomph on this side of the bed to match that side of the bed. And then on both sides, we balanced it out with big clusters of Sanchisia. I have a grouping there and a grouping here. I love the pop of color in these leaves. You see them a little bit now, but over time, as the Lucie grow in, you're really gonna see that variegation in color. So you guys may be wondering why the ruby reds are in prison here. They're completely in timeout over here in these cages. These are rabbit cages. Most of you guys probably are familiar with how that works. Young plantings, tender plantings like ruby reds, like blue my minds, like so many other tender ground covers that are low to the ground. If you have rabbits that live in the area, they can nibble and really kind of get a hold of those smaller plants. What they do need, ruby reds need to be trimmed several times to get to that hardened stem, and then the rabbits really kind of lose interest in them. But it does take some time for that to happen. So you can either use a pesticide treatment or do what my clients are doing here, which is caging the ruby reds. So some of the other plants that we have within this bed, we've got some pie crust crotons to the back there, and then a little swath of ice tone crotons to the front of the Dayun palm. And the main reason for the 2 different types of crotons there is the pie crust crotons grow fat and chunky and tall. So I have 3 and 3 on either side of the palm tree. So during the summer months, and that's obviously when crotons really do their thing because their color is so profound during that time of the year. But we'll have 4 or 5 foot of big clusters of pie crust crotons on either side of the upright Dayun palm. And then down below, we'll have the ice tones that are more compact and small and lower to the ground and nowhere nearly as aggressive. So it's still going to offer color, still going to give you a sweep of something, but it's going to be a more controlled plant. So those of you guys who need to change that up for not putting something too high in front of something else, that's a great way to do it. Keep the height to the sides or of course to the back, but then take that front and find something with a similar pattern or a fully contrasted color pattern, but make sure that is smaller to the front of a species like a Dayun palm or a false agave or Imperialis bromeliad, anything like that. And as an underplanting, a little bit of support for this bromeliad here, we have 3 Caribbean agaves. I love these little agaves. They're small and cute now, but over time they get gorgeous and rounded. So they're almost like spherical. So they'll kind of come up to this range and just just round right out. And when they do that, they're just such showstoppers in the garden. They tend to stay nice and small. They do grow super slow. So if you do want them to have that gorgeous look right away, you might have to get them in a 15-gallon size. But this was, I think, a 5-gallon size when we planted them. And they're already starting to pop out with some interest. But over time, awesome. What they're doing is framing the coquina boulder that we have here, and then we just have a little touch of yellow lantana down below. This is the compact lantana. It's not in bloom, unfortunately, because we're out of season, but it does bloom a beautiful yellow and white bloom, and it stays nice and rounded and compact and kind of beefy like that. So I just love that type of lantana. Also, that is not the trailing or the invasive variety. That is what they call the sterile lantana. I tend to use that as often as I can. And of course, just to give us one more tier of a lower ground cover, because anytime you can mound like that and layer in like that, you want to start with the lowest possible thing. So we've got some golden sedum down below. I think that it looks so good around boulders. And the next thing that I use around boulders pretty often is going to be the foxtail ferns. So we just have a swath of foxtail ferns in this little shady spot of the yard, and a cool coquina boulder that has just kind of an interesting look to it, a little bit more height, a little bit more impact here, just to kind of finish off this bed. You can see we're kind of in the ditch area. This is a wet section of the front of the garden. So you notice that we're on a rise here, so we needed to kind of backfill and add some soil. So I was able to use some Buta edging to really kind of give us not just a nice show line, not just a great edging piece, but something that's going to hold in that mulch from being lost into this very low section. You can see this area is wet, it stays very moist, so it is important to make sure the landscaping is kind of tucked up into that drier section of the garden. All right, you guys, so this next area was a problematic one. Now, we all have those in our gardens, but this one was a bit tricky for a couple different reasons. I kind of want you to see the whole picture in this. You know, a lot of times when you do front yard landscapes, you do them tucked around the house, kind of like we did that first section of the garden where it's right by the foundation of the house, and then you do the same thing on the other side of the house where it's on the foundation of the house. However, this yard, this side of this yard, we have a big drain field that goes in all the way to the back of the yard. And it caused us to not do any planting on that side, which was a happy accident because that makes you think outside of the box, you know? It makes you think of how can we still make this really cool, really interesting, and also really makes sense. So we have a Collusia wall that wraps around this front section here. And you guys saw that that Collusia wall on the other island does the same thing. So having two 5-foot walls coming all the way, I mean, look how close we are to the roadway. So it's almost like we're creating almost like a gated entrance to this front space. When all of this grows in and all the landscaping pulled forward, it'll feel like they have a landscape within a landscape. So this area will come in, be a nice 5-foot border, offering some privacy, but also offering a little bit of an estate feel, kind of giving us this really cool entrance barrier with layered plantings all the way to the front to kind of show a little bit of personality, a little bit of style. So that's exactly what we have here. And what it left them with, and we'll go inside here in just a second, but it left them a great space for games, a nice little yard area. And then all we did is took the landscaping and wrapped around that section. So that way everything is just beautiful from inside to outside. So you can see here we have key features. So we've got the false agave because we have one on that side there. So anytime you can pair, anytime you can have some accents, do that. So we have a false agave here, we have a false agave there. Now we don't have one over there, but we do have two upright vertical things there, like the Dioun, like the Imperialis. So that's another way to tie in that same kind of look where when you're looking at from the street, things with structure that are up like this, having balance all the way through the yard, that's like they make good neighbors, these plants. So we've got those guys there. Nice little drift of bougainvillea. These are Helen Johnson bougainvillea. That means the compact, the ones, the little shorty guys, the ones that can stay dwarf forever. So that's exactly what we have down here. And just little clusters of foxtail ferns where we need them, just to soften the beds. A little cluster there, a little cluster here, a very cool coquina boulder, kind of set at an angle so that way you can see it from the street. Popped in some Johannes bromeliads to the front. and then started off with a big sea of yellow. Now, if we're missing that color right now that we have, that burgundy and pink coloration that the bougainvilleas give, because we had that carrying over with things like the Brazilian red cloaks and their beautiful pink flowers, with the antilus and that dark coloration of color, the ruby reds with those deep tones. So you can see that we're doing pinks and purples and burgundies, and that's the same. So every bed has that little collection of that coloration, so it ties in. And they also have things like these golden dews with that light variation. So instead of Java whites or anything tall here like we have in the other beds, or even Song of India, we had to keep this a little bit lower to the ground. So we use the gold mound for that purpose alone, because it's going to be a nice sea of that same light coloration that we have in the other two beds. And of course, we're also on a slant here. So we're now working our way down towards the ditch area. So we use the edging to really kind of help control the height. Being able to add a little bit of soil, using the edging to keep that soil in place. So this is areas a little bit raised, so that way that we have a natural low section that does hold the water, you know, like we were intended to, like we're all supposed to hold our own water. That's going to do that right here and outside of the planting beds. And you guys know I love my Buda edging. It comes in so many colors. It's durable, it's versatile, and it's made in the USA, which big bonus for me. It is in the link down below in the description. So please, if you guys are looking to purchase it anyway, think about purchasing it off of our link, because we get a little bit of a commission with it. It is a product that I use in my own home, and of course I use it in a lot of other homes. So it is a product that I truly believe in. All right, you guys, so now we're at the driveway. Now, I think this turned out so cool. We don't have a lot of space because, of course, we want to keep this area open back here. And when you don't have a lot of space, I know a lot of clients, a lot of my customers always ask me, could we just do a row of something? Could we just do a row of trees? And you absolutely can. I love an avenue of palm trees. But if you want something to look a little bit grander and you don't have a lot of depth, in my case and in this situation, what we chose to do is use foxtail palms, because they're a beefier tree with a feathery canopy, and they're naturally taller than the Kentiopsis palm. So they're always going to give a height variation. But if you start out with a smaller palm, different contrasting leaf, then you go with a foxtail palm and then another Kentiopsis palm for, again, a lowered height, back up to a foxtail. I guess you got it, right? You can really see that it adds more impact than if I were to just put a row of foxtails into this space. Anytime you guys can do that up and down motion, you're really able to fit a lot more material into that space. And then if I were to put foxtails as close together as I've got the Kentiopsis and this foxtail together, they would be competing at the canopies. And that's kind of what we want to avoid. We want this low and high kind of look. So that way each tree can do its own statement. And that was the goal here. So, because we didn't have a lot of room to work with, and I think that kind of maximized it for the space. And then I knew that we had a lot of weight on that side over there with the oak tree, with the Sylvester palms, with the other oak tree, with the, you know, the foxtail palms, Christmas palms. We have a lot of weight on that side of the house, and not having that weight on this side of the house, I was worried about how that balance was going to look. So being able to create this linear kind of grouping with these palm trees gave that to us from the road. Now I feel from the road, we have good balance. And I think that's the one thing that gets missed a lot when I see new landscapes. I see where they'll put 2 or 3 trees on one side, maybe 1 tree on this side, and then a few rows of bushes. And it's like, you kind of don't know what's off, but it's just off. So you're really having to work with what's available to you. If you have weight on one side, whether it's the same plant, same tree, or different variety, as long as there's same kind of balanced weight on the other side, then it all feels good and just kind of like, and now that works. Some key features in this bed are oh my goodness, some of my new favorite plants. These are the Yucca rostratas. Having one on either side of this walkway, I think, was just kind of another double bonus. And you noticed, as I mentioned before, we had the false agaves at the other entrance. So having something smaller, more compact, more delicate, but still just as striking on this smaller walkway, it was just like a nice little touch. So something real flamboyant at the front where we have room for it to get 5-6 foot tall and be fantastic. And then something here that's a little bit more delicate, but yet still has that striking kind of approach, I think works really, really nicely. So the Yucca rostratas are ideal for environmental environments like this. And the other main focal point in this bed here is going to be the King Alexander. This is a double King Alexander. I have it facing kind of like this, just so I just love that V shape. It goes flat against a flat section of the house and kind of gives us a 3D effect as it pops forward. Speaking of 3D effects, so when something pops forward, you want some accents or some features to pop back, like these beautiful dwarf jasmine trees. It looks like they just went out of bloom. Oh, our timing, you guys. Oh, there's a couple pods getting ready to bust, but this is a dwarf jasmine tree bush. So this guy is going to be kind of column-like, but definitely not like a topiary in any kind of sense of the word. They're more of a natural, softer leaf. They can grow up to 6-7 foot tall. You can maintain them at whatever height you'd like to maintain them. They can stay this height forever. But kind of having something soft and subtle here and these little nooks, I think offer a deep green kind of contrast. This particular variety blooms a whitish, purplish flowering, has beautiful fragrance to it. In the jasmine family, so it has the fragrance, but it's not as strong as like a gardenia. So if you guys are a little bit more sensitive to that, this is great to be able to pick the flowers or to pick and do cuttings and bring them inside and have that great fragrance to it. Right below, we have these Excellence Crotons, a nice kind of coloration. Now during the summer months, they're very, very vibrant and bright like you see here. During the winter months, as you can start to see, they're turning a little bit dark toned. So that's the thing with crotons. They have two kind of different variations in color for different times of the year. Then we've got Carissa Boxwood because we just need it to be pretty tidy right here. It's a tight little area, so finishing off with Carissa Boxwood at the bottom, a little pop of Golden Dews with a little clustering of Antilus. And then we have this back bed right here. And for this section, this is a little shady nook in the backyard space. So this is in the rear side of the garden, and it definitely needs a little punctuation mark. So when you need something like that and you can't let something grow too big, you could totally use something like the mule palm. It grows so very slow. It's going to be a great feature in this space. It has a very cool but distinctively different leaf than all the other leaves. It can handle cold temperatures up to almost snowing. I mean, they're really, really tough. This is a cross between a queen palm and a pindo palm, so it has a very unique look to it. And every mule palm has a little bit of a different look. So when you're tagging or looking for yours, make sure you pick it out, not somebody else, because they can be really cool or not so cool. So this is a lovely one. We just went through some summer storms, but overall it's popping back beautifully. Love the dark, dark coloration to these leaves and this very tiny trunk for such a big canopy. If you guys need to make a big splash with something and you're not able to let something get too enormous or too tall, you kind of want something with a short trunk but a lot of frond, mule palm might just be your palm. Right around the base side of it is going to be the Java White Copperleafs. Java White Copperleafs in the shade versus the ones that were in the sun that you just saw a few minutes ago. The difference of the leaf is enormous. I mean, look at the size of this leaf. This is like a Seymour leaf. This is like giant, giant. Now, when they're in the shade, they're not getting the harshness of the sun, so they're trying to find more exposure. So they're growing those leaves like big giant lily pads, so that way they get a little bit more sunlight. They still offer the beautiful variation in color. And if they get a little less sun, you'll notice they'll take it from yellow to a little bit more white tones. So it's a beautiful plant, whether it's in the sun or it's in the shade. But just know if you're planning on putting it more in the shade, it's going to stretch more. It's going to try to reach out and get more exposure. So filtered light is an ideal space for this, or full sun. Full shade, I would probably stick with something more like a Sanchisia instead, but this is kind of a nice middle option. This gets a couple afternoon hours and then that's about it. And just to finish off this plant grouping, we have the Brazilian red cloaks to the back. They're going to offer that beautiful green foliage with pops of beautiful pink. All right, so we have down below a little touch of the ruby reds, but we do have a silver odorata that's going to come and fill this spot, so that way we have that last touch of silver for this space. So if this was your jam, you guys, please remember to like and subscribe. Bryce and I post every single weekend, and we will see you in your feed next weekend. Thank you so much for visiting. Take care.